How we doing, guys? This was a requested video by quite a few people. This is not going to be an easy video for me. Because of that, I have written down what I'm going to say, so that way I could keep my head in the game. I could focus on the text. But anyways, this is how Islam saved my life. To fully understand, we have to go back a few years, back to 2021. 2021, I would say, was mentally the hardest year I ever had, without a doubt. But remember, for later in the video, mentally, remember I said mentally, because we'll circle back to that. Now, my mental state of mind has never been the best, due to a bunch of terrible childhood experiences, and I never learned how to control it. At least, not yet. But it got so bad I attempted suicide multiple times. I felt hopeless, and it felt like I was surrounded by nothing but darkness. I tried to shoot myself. That was the first time. I was drunk. I waited for my mom to leave. I went in the bathroom. I was just locked in there with my thoughts. I brought a gun in there with me. So there was only one thing that could shut those thoughts off if it got too loud. And I tried, but clearly the gun didn't work because I'm still here. I could laugh at this because it's my story. But when that didn't work, I was asking God to just take the pain from me. And I was angry it didn't work. But eventually, I was able to get prescripted antidepressants. I tried them for a couple weeks. See if maybe they'll work. They didn't. I waited about 2 weeks, and the only thing it did for me was give me severe anxiety, which I've never had before, ever, and it was really bad. But everything was seemingly getting worse and worse, and I felt I had no purpose, and I truly wanted to leave this life. I didn't care what the consequences were for suicide. I wanted to go. So one night when I was the only one home, I took that pill bottle. I dumped the pills out, and I counted them, one by one. And there was 14 total in that pill bottle. So I took 14, one by one. And I laid down, I closed my eyes, and I was praying that they'd never open again. I said this was going to be hard, right? I was thinking reading it was going to be easier, but it's not. It's not easier. Because I'm still, reliving it. Okay, alright. Back to it. So, I took those, and about 20 minutes later, my girlfriend at the time actually came through the door, saw the bottle empty, and she woke me up in a panic. And asked if I did what she thought I did. I said no. And I tried to go back to sleep, but as she woke me up, the pain that hit me was so unbearable and unlike anything else that I have experienced up till that point. it was like my body felt like it was on fire from the inside. It felt like my body was actually in the fire of hell. It got so bad that I wound up getting sick from it. And it was, I think me getting sick is what saved me. Because I was able to throw up those pills, or what was left of them. But a few weeks passed and my body was still recovering. I didn't go to the hospital because I wanted to, man it out. I probably should have went to the hospital, but I didn't want them to send me somewhere. But in those weeks, I had time to think, and I tried talking to God and tried to see what His plan was. And I asked why I can't leave yet. Because I wanted nothing more in the world than to leave. I couldn't bear it anymore. It was so... I just wanted to go. I never got an answer, but deep down I knew there had to be a reason. And I had to keep telling myself that even if there wasn't one. Fast forward, I'm now in a different relationship. This is now 2022. And in this relationship, I was actually the happiest I've ever been, like ever. That was a feeling I had never experienced before in my life. And it's a feeling I never wanted to lose. But I had time to reflect. And one day, I made a promise not only to myself, but to God, that I will never try to kill myself again. Because if there is any chance I could have that feeling of happiness, then I will do anything I can to get it. But I was still battling some addictions, and that eventually caused that relationship to end. And I felt lost once again, but I knew I had to keep my promise. I was not going to break that promise. I was raised Christian, so I still believed in God. But I always had some questions that I felt were never answered, and I strayed away from it at a young age. But I knew God was out there, I just didn't know how to find Him. Why'd you guys make me do this video, man? I guess it could help someone out there. I hope so. I hope it helps someone. So, one day at work, I told my coworker that I was going to start reading all the religious scriptures because, well, I've always liked being culturally aware, and I knew nothing about other religions. Like, nada. I was always intrigued, but never actually cared to learn. So, as I said that, my coworker told me that his dad actually found a Quran in a house that we were working at, and it was abandoned, so it was in the warehouse at work. So he walked over there, and he gave it to me. And I never really was a big reader. I could never concentrate and read a whole book. But I downloaded the audiobook. So I listened to the audiobook, and as I was listening to it, it was answering my questions. And I'm glad I started listening to it instead of reading it, because the thing we found wasn't a Quran, but like a book of creed, manners, character, and stuff. I forget the Arabic name for it, but you guys should know what I'm talking about. At least I hope so. But yeah, as I started listening to it, it just felt right. The questions I had were getting answered, and I couldn't do anything but smile. So every day, I was listening to it and trying to talk to God every day. And I felt I was finally starting to see the beauty in life. And it was great. But I realized I don't know how to, like, advance in this way of life at all. I was just kind of back to being stuck because I didn't know anyone that was Muslim. I didn't know who to talk to, what to do. But I think God knew that because I was trying to figure out how to advance, and then I found someone who I started dating. Yes, I know, I dated a lot. Listen, I'm getting better. I'm not doing that. But she was actually in a few of my old videos, so you might have seen her. But when I met her, she wasn't really practicing. She'd tell you the same thing too. But she did eventually start again. She told me because I kept asking her questions. Sorry, I have the hiccups. She told me because I kept asking her questions and truly trying to learn that it made her want to do it again. So for a while, she was my guidance and helped me so much. And I wouldn't be here right now without her. And I'm forever grateful to her for that. So if for some reason she's watching this, I doubt it because we don't talk anymore. I know what you guys are thinking. But if she was watching this, thank you. Because without her, I would not be here. So, while I was learning, by the way, this is in 2023 now. While I was learning and practicing, I had a few experiences that were, it felt like God was telling me something. Now, obviously, it wasn't like, hey, Adam, do this. But I'll try to explain better. At this point, I still didn't have my life together. I still don't have it together, honestly. I don't know what I'm doing. But I was still doing things I shouldn't. And one day, me and my friends were hanging out, and we took something we shouldn't. And about an hour or two, we were like having seizures almost. And once that stopped, I had to run to the bathroom because I was getting sick again. So this is now a 2-year difference, right? 2021 is when it started. This is 2023 now. I was throwing up again, and while I was getting sick, that hell that I felt from overdosing was back. But it was in my head this time. It was very different. But it felt almost every bit like hell. But during that time, it felt like I almost heard a voice. It's hard to explain. It was like hearing a voice, but it was showing me. It's very hard to explain. But it was like it was telling me that I need to stop doing what I was doing. I need to quit drinking and quit the other bad habits that I had, and the pain will stop. And it stopped. And the next day, I woke up at like 2 p.m., which my roommate actually woke up at 2 p.m. too. It was like a weird thing. It was like we woke up at the same time. And as I opened my door, he opened his door We walked out at the same time, looked at each other. It was weird, because it was like, I don't know, it was very strange. But I asked him, I was like, how, like, what happened to you last night? I specifically said it that way. And it was weird. I asked him this, and I asked the other person this, not together, separately, because I want to see if I was losing my mind or not, or what was going on. And the first thing he said was it felt like he talked to God. Both of them said that. And I didn't know if it actually happened, or if it was some sort of like shared, synchronized like high. I don't know. It was weird, but I wasn't gonna risk it, and I followed what I knew was right. I know I shouldn't be doing this stuff. I'm gonna stop doing it. That same week, I was in my car, and it felt like I heard that voice again, almost. I was sitting there trying to talk to God. I'm trying to like ask for some sort of guidance, and I just see but hear. It's hard. I don't know how to explain it. But it's like I hear that voice again, and it tells me that the rest of 2023 is gonna be the hardest year, one of the hardest years of my life. And I accepted the challenge, because at this point I knew it would be hard, but I did everything to see the light, and I knew nothing could break me down as long as I realized I had God on my side and put my trust in him. And that's exactly what I did. Every single day after, it just got harder and harder and harder. So whether that was my self-conscious telling me that or something else, it was right. No matter how hard I was trying to have a good day, every day was getting harder. I ran into so many new issues I never had. I didn't know what to do. So the only thing that I did was ask Allah for help. Which was not easy, by the way. Like, I can't even ask a person for help. Asking him for help, I was like, I don't deserve that at all. I don't deserve any help he offers me. But I knew that from the Quran, from reading and listening to the Quran, I wound up, getting my Quran. I knew that he is the most forgiving and the most merciful. And I asked him for help every single day. Till one day, I was praying Isha. I was on my final racket, and I don't know if you guys do this, but like I pray with my eyes closed, right? I grew up Christian, like I said, so it's like natural for me whenever I'm praying to just have my eyes closed, and it helps me focus, like, because I don't want to get distracted, so I try to keep my eyes closed and focused. But through my eyelids, like you close your eyelids, you could see, like, you could still see light, and it seemed like a bright figure almost. Like moved from like here, like walked to my right shoulder, or I don't know necessarily walked, but it slowly moves from here to like the right side of me. And I didn't put it together at first, but like as I realized what happened, like I was like, wait a minute, that's like, as I said that, I just started smiling, laughing, and crying, like, all at the same time. It was very... I don't know how else to explain it other than saying it felt pure, honestly. Like, it was, like, all at once. Like, still didn't know what it was, but, like, I was like, what was... Like, as I was questioning what that was, it just all hit me, and, like, I couldn't control it. Like, I was just... It was... If you could describe what it felt like to be in heaven, that's what it would feel like. Now, obviously, I don't know what it feels like to be in heaven, but that was It was the greatest feeling I have ever had. And I would do anything to get that feeling again. It was the greatest 30 minutes of my life. I finished praying, and I was just laid there on my rug for about 30 minutes, smiling and crying. Be lucky I'm telling you guys that. Like, I don't tell no one I cry. I usually don't cry. Which is crazy how it hit me, and it just like, it was glorious. It was great. But it felt like I was almost being rewarded for keeping my faith, even though everything was going wrong. I kept my faith. I did not stop believing. So even though the rest of the year should have been absolutely terrible, and was the worst year of my life, physically, emotionally, and mentally, worse than my year in 2021, it wasn't. It wasn't because, remember I said at the beginning of the video, 2021 was the hardest year mentally for me. It still is. But what I left out was, in 2021, nothing drastic happened that made me want to commit suicide. It was just years of having that feeling of lost and empty with no purpose. In 2023, I faced way more challenges, but whenever I had doubt, all I did was put my faith in God, and then I didn't feel alone. I wasn't empty. I found my purpose. At least I feel like I found my purpose. Starting Islam has literally not just changed, but saved my life. I still have a very long way to go. Very long way to go. But I know, no matter what obstacle that Allah puts in front of me, that He knows I could go get around it. And I know I could do it with Him. But recently, right, I had a conversation with my aunt. By recently, I mean last week. And we were talking. I haven't talked to her for a long time, so we were catching up on stuff. And she told me, hold on 1 second. Remember I said I wrote some of this stuff down. I tried not to look at it too much, but you guys know from my videos I ramble too much, so I'm trying to stay on track. So it's kind of some bullet points. So I talked to my aunt recently, and she told me that as a kid I never talked until I was 5 or 6, which I knew. My mom told me I never formed a whole sentence until I was about 4 or 5. I was always quiet and observant. I just watched, which is a good trait, but also very bad. If it's good if you're surrounded by good, but if you're surrounded by bad, then it's not good. But my aunt told me when I finally started talking, that I told her as a kid, when I grow up, all I want to do is protect my mom, women, and anyone that is being hurt. And when she told me that, honestly, I got teary-eyed. Because I realized that purpose that I believe I have now is the exact dream I had as a kid. But I didn't remember because I didn't have my faith. I lost my faith. And I lost my purpose. But as I found my faith again, I found my purpose. And the only thing I could do is thank God for that. Because although it's been a long long journey, and it's still going on. I'm nowhere near completing my dream. Nowhere near completing it. Do I believe that I could change the lives of everyone that needs it? I have to. Is it my job? No. Is it my purpose? Who knows? But it's what I believe I have to do. And no matter how many times people tell me, you can't make the world happy, I'm going to try. It does not matter what they say, I'm going to try it. I have to. Someone has to. But I still have a long way to go. But that's okay. I'm working on my patience. My patience was always terrible, but I'm working on it now. And I know I'm going to get through it. Because I have Allah with me. And as long as I still keep him with me and don't lose faith, I will accomplish my goals and the goals he has set for me. Because I know he works in mysterious ways. And this whole journey has been a mysterious way. But we all know he's the best of planners. Thank you guys for watching, and I love you. I'm gonna go cry now.